This episode is sponsored by OmegaBrite Wellness. Get a free bottle of OmegaBrite CBD Full Spectrum Soft Gels with free shipping when you buy one bottle of their 7010 MD Omega 3. Use offer code NED, that's my name, Ned, at OmegaBriteWellness.com. Distraction is also sponsored by Landmark College in Putney, Vermont, the college of choice for students who learn differently. Learn more at lcdistraction.org. Hello, this is Dr. Ned Hallowell for Distraction. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm very pleased to welcome back my good friend, Dr. Carol Locke. Carol is the founder of OmegaBrite Wellness, a sponsor of this podcast. And she's joining me today to talk about how all of us can reduce anxiety and feel less stressed in our daily lives. Wouldn't that be nice? Thank you so much for joining me today, Carol.
Hi, Ned. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, that's wonderful. So you've been making this wonderful product for a number of years, and its main impact, tell me if I'm wrong, is that it reduces inflammation. Is that correct?
It reduces inflammation, and it concurrently reduces anxiety and improves people's mood and reduces stress. So those are the main components of how it seems to be working in people and providing benefit in daily life.
So, and why is it important to reduce inflammation?
Inflammation is a natural response, and it's a positive response when it's short-term and in response to an injury, some kind of, body assault in our body and our cells that we need our cells to respond to. But when it's long-term and it's unopposed, it causes damage to our cells. It causes damage to our heart, to our blood vessels, to our brain. It increases your risk of cancer. It causes a whole variety of damage that we need to find ways to reduce to be healthy and to protect our health, particularly right now with the pandemic causing such stress.
Now, when you use the term stress and anxiety, how would you define those, and how does omega-3 fatty acids reduce them?
Well, with stress, what I'm talking about is the physiological stress that we have when we're faced with long-term unrelenting threats, such as the pandemic. And that, as you know, activates our amygdala. And short-term stress actually improves your longevity, but long-term stress can become toxic.
So what is stress? We use that word.
So I'm talking about the elevated levels of our stress hormones in our bodies, the cortisol level, and that comes and attacks all the different cells in our body. It affects our brain, it affects our mood, our neurotransmitters, it affects our amygdala and can cause long-term damage in the amygdala and in our ability to modulate stress.
Not everyone listening knows what the amygdala is.
So the amygdala is kind of like the supercomputer center in our brain of stress management. When we perceive a threat, through our senses, the amygdala is activated, and that puts us on alert. It increases our heart rate, our blood flow. It increases our cortisol levels through our hypothalamus, pituitary, and adrenocorticoid system. So that is our stress response.
So what's the difference between good stress and bad stress?
Good stress is stress that you can manage. It's short-term. It's something that your body addresses and your being addresses, manages, and then it resolves. So that whole system with your stress hormones turns off and slows down. When it's bad stress is when it doesn't resolve, when you stay on that alert fear response and you have an ongoing threat and you can't turn it down or master it or regulate it. That creates in your body a continual level of physiologic stress from your cortisol system driving it and affecting all of your cells, all of your organs. And that's what we want with this pandemic, to manage and interrupt in whatever ways we can.
And how soon do you feel the effects after you take an omega-3? Is it instant, or does it need to build up in your system?
It needs time to build up. When you're taking the omega-3s that I'm talking about are high EPA omega-3s, and that takes time for your body to absorb and then to affect your cells and adjust your omega-6 to omega-3 ratio, which affects your inflammation level. So the studies that I'm referring to are done by Ohio State. One is on reducing anxiety in medical students and inflammation. And that was a 12-week study with 68 students, double-blind, placebo control, funded by the NIH. And that study found that there was a 20% reduction in anxiety and a 14% reduction in inflammatory cytokine IL-6 from taking the high-dose EPA omega-3. So that was a very interesting thing, Ned, where you see the mind-body merge, where as anxiety is reduced, you're also reducing inflammation. So people's experience of stress is often with heightened anxiety. And here's one way that study has shown in healthy medical students without an anxiety disorder that an omega-3 can reduce both the inflammation and anxiety.
Are all omega-3 products the same?
No, they're different in the amounts of EPA and DHA they contain, which are from marine molecules, or you can get a plant-based omega-3, which is a shorter chain, an 18-chain ALA. So they're very different, and they're different in the amounts of each omega-3 that they contain. So a typical omega-3 contains fairly equal amounts of EPA and DHA and doesn't contain a high concentrate or a high EPA. This study was done with a high EPA omega-3, and those findings were confirmed in another study they did with 138 healthy middle-aged and older adults over 4 months. And what they found was that over 4 months in a placebo-controlled double-blind study, that on that high EPA omega-3, they had a 10% and 12% reduction in their inflammatory cytokines. So again, you're seeing that you can reduce the actual inflammation level in your body with a high EPA omega-3. And that's very powerful in its health consequence. It can be both protective and it can help with ongoing disease. And with, again, coming back to what people are facing right now with the high level of stress, which activates that amygdala and our body's stress response with high levels of cortisol and corresponding higher inflammation. These are ways that you can use an omega-3 to decrease the inflammation and decrease the anxiety and the stress that your body is experiencing. And if you want to add that to the toolbox that we know, with sleep, with exercise, with connection, with mindfulness, ways to manage the stress we face and reduce inflammation.
For you listening, if you'd like to get Carol's product, which is the kind that I recommend, you can get a free bottle of OmegaBrite CBD full spectrum soft gels with free shipping when you buy one bottle of their 7010 MD omega-3. Use the code, offer my name, Ned, at OmegaBriteWellness.com and get a free bottle of OmegaBrite CBD full spectrum soft gels, which I take every day, and I'm very glad I did, and my wife does as well. What are the best foods to eat to increase your intake of omega-3s, aside from, your supplement, OmegaBrite, or other supplements?
You want to try to take cold water fatty fish, and that's mackerel, tuna, herring, sardines, salmon. You want to be careful with your larger fish because they can contain mercury that an omega-3 supplement doesn't. The smaller fish are small on the food chain, and they don't contain very much mercury. So sardines and mackerel are very good. Salmon, you want to make sure that it's not farm-raised salmon raised on corn, because then it will be an omega-6 fish, and that won't help. For the shorter chain, the 18-chain omega-3, you can have nuts and seeds, flax seeds, chia, like in your chia pet, walnuts, plant oils. You can also get omega-3s in a lot of fortified foods. Margarines, milks, eggs often have omega-3 added. Infant formula does, soy beverages. And your free-range animals, so if you get grass-fed beef, that will have higher omega-3 than grain-fed. Same with poultry. So those are ways to add it to your diet, which are important for your body's health. It's hard to get that level of EPA from diet, from food, that you want to get some of the mood and anxiety and inflammation reduction.
I want to recommend to you Landmark College. It's the college of choice for students who learn differently. Go to lcdistraction.org to learn more. That's LC for Landmark College, distraction.org to learn more. It's a really wonderful, special place in beautiful Putney, Vermont. It's bucolic. But what goes on there is unique. It is a truly specialized learning environment for people who have the conditions I've got, ADHD and dyslexia, for us to learn how best to acquire knowledge and also to express our own ideas. It's a marvelously talented, sympathetic, lively faculty. The courses are rigorous, but also wonderfully forgiving if you have one of these conditions. Please go to Landmark College, lcdistraction.org to learn more and feed yourself with the banquet you'll find there. Okay, let's get back to the show. And how much omega-3 does a person need to eat or ingest or in some other way get into their bodies to see results?
For the results of reducing the anxiety, that was with the 6 capsules a day. With the reduction of inflammation in the middle-aged and older adults, that was either 2 to 3 soft gels a day caused a 10% reduction in inflammatory molecules, or 5 to 6 capsules a day caused a 12% reduction. So people can really start on, say, 3 capsules a day, see how they feel, and adjust upward to see where they feel the best benefit is.
When I started, I take 6 capsules a day. When I started, I don't know how many years ago it was that you turned me onto this, but typical me, I wanted to use myself as my own experimental animal. So I kept increasing the dose. And when I got up to 15 capsules a day, I started to have nosebleeds. So I guess at mega doses, it can interfere with clotting.
Yeah, I think you're not supposed to go above 3 grams a day. So that would be above 3 grams a day.
15 would be like 10 grams or 12 grams? Or...
Yeah. So you don't want to go above 3 a day. I think a lot of people do very well with 2.5 grams a day of the OmegaBrite. A lot of the studies on inflammation and neuroprotection are recommending at least 2 grams a day. So we're
talking 4 to 6 capsules a day of your product?
Yeah, and right? I think from our experience, people report benefit in that range.
See, with my patients, my experience has been that they underdiagnose. They take 1 capsule and they think that's enough.
Right. And then they say, I don't feel anything. Because most people, when they take an omega-3, don't feel anything.
Right.
But when you take the high concentrate and you take 4 to 6, then people begin to feel a response. It takes a couple weeks, but it can add tremendous benefit.
Yeah, and it's a easy thing to do. By the way, we keep our capsules in our freezer. Is there any reason to do that, or can you store them wherever you want?
You can store them wherever you want. A lot of people may keep them, we recommend a dark place, a not hot, dark place,
right,
a cupboard. Right. A lot of people prefer to keep it in the refrigerator. The freezer, you actually have to be careful with, because the capsule, the gelatin can fracture in a freezing condition.
So we should put it in the fridge instead of, okay.
Yeah, I would recommend that.
In the refrigerator, not the freezer.
Right, either a dark cabinet or the refrigerator.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad I asked. I always pick up something from you, Carol. You're amazing. Well, it's an amazingly good product. Carol won't toot her own horn, but she's been doing this for more than 20 years. She's a graduate of Harvard Medical School. She's about the most careful, responsible person in this field that I know. Not about this. She is the most careful and responsible and always learning, always studying, always keeping up. That's why I'm proud to have her sponsor our podcast. Okay, thank you again, Carol. That's all the time we have for today. My thanks to my dear friend and learned colleague, Dr. Carol Locke. That's Locke, for joining me. If you'd like to learn more about omega-3s and how they can help you reduce anxiety, as well as improve sense of well-being and reduce inflammation and overall health, go to OmegaBriteWellness.com, and that's Bright spelled B-R-I-T-E, OmegaBriteWellness.com. And here's a heads up, my new book, ADHD 2.0, is coming out on January 12th. It's co-written with my buddy John Rady, and we lay out a revolutionary new approach featuring new science and strategies to help people with ADD, ADHD thrive. We certainly mention omega-3 fatty acids in the book. You can learn more about ADHD 2.0 and pre-order a copy, which I wish you would do, by clicking the link in the show notes or by going to my website at drhallowell.com, or, of course, to the ever gracious and generous Amazon. Okay, remember to follow Distraction on social media, and please reach out to us. Email us at connect at distractionpodcast.com. Distraction is created by Sounds Great Media. The podcast is recorded and mixed by Scott Persson, the ever-talented Scott Persson. And our producer is the abundantly talented Sarah Guertin. I'm Dr. Ned Hallowell, thanking Dr. Carol Locke, and all of you, thanks so much for listening. The episode you just now heard, was made possible by my good friends at OmegaBrite Wellness. Get a free bottle of OmegaBrite CBD Full Spectrum Soft Gels with free shipping when you buy one bottle of their 7010 MD Omega-3. Use offer code NED, that's my name, at OmegaBriteWellness.com.